Hi, in this video I'm going to go through how the step sequencer lane on the Korg Wavestate works. You'll learn how to use it as a modulation source for various parameters on the synth. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe if you find this interesting, and by all means leave me some comments or questions down below to let me know what you thought. Let's get started. So each layer on the Wavestate is composed of multiple lanes. We have a master lane, timing lane, sample lane. The ones you would probably use the most are sample lane, pitch lane, maybe timing lane to adjust what samples play. But the step sequencer lane is an interesting one. The step sequencer generates a source of modulation values, and you can use those modulation values wherever you want in the Wavestate. So just like an LFO can generate a constantly moving value, each step in a step sequencer lane is going to give you a new value which you can direct to a destination to modulate. The difference with the step sequencer lane is it's generating those values step by step. So each step is creating a new value, and you can indeed modulate that value and adjust the intensity of it, and whether you want it as a sample and hold or a continuous value. It's done on a step-by-step basis. And because that gives you all of the step probability and ability to combine different lanes as in other lanes on the Wavestate, you have a lot more power in adjusting how this modulation source works. So the step sequencer, like other lanes, is composed of 64 steps. I've got an 8-step sequence set up here. As you can see, you can dial in the type, the value, and the probability. Probability is similar to other lanes you have on the Wavestate. It's how likely this step is to play. The type and the value are the interesting ones. The value is the amount that you want to create as the modulation source to send to a destination. The easiest way to understand what the step sequencer does is to listen to it in action. So I have a very simple program here, which I think I took from one of the factory presets. It's a bass sample, which I've arpeggiated. It's going through 3-head tape delay and some reverb and chorus. Oh, very nice, but there's not an awful lot of movement other than the delay going on there. So let's see what we can do with the step sequencer. Say we were playing this and we wanted to modulate, say, the resonance. Now, obviously you could assign an LFO to do that, but maybe you want your LFO going somewhere else. So let's use the step sequencer lane for this. So what we're going to do, initially I'm going to set all these to 0. So we have to go in here and create a modulation amount. So we go mod plus. The modulation target, we're just going to set it to the filter resonance, and the source, I just go over here. We go down to generators, go across, and scroll down to step sequencer lane. So we're going to select step sequencer lane as the modulation source. Now we have to choose the intensity. So I've all of these set to 0% values now and 0% intensity. So we'll go all the way. Let's go all the way to 100% on this. Let's go in and start dialing up some values here into the individual steps. You can go positive and negative. So I'm going plus 45, minus 73, plus 100, plus 100, minus 100. Now let's see what happens. Wow, that is kind of crazy. As you can hear, as each step moved along, the resonance was being very aggressively modulated in one direction or another. So let's dial that down a bit, okay? How do we do that? Well, we go into our modulation source. We go to that modulation where we're mapping the step sequencer lane to filter resonance, and we set up an intensity modulation source. This allows us to attenuate the intensity of the modulation that's being sent to, in this case, the filter resonance. So I'm going to set this, for example, I could use the mod knobs, and I'm just going to choose the master performance knob here. Now the master performance knob is going to modulate the intensity of the modulation amounts coming from the step sequencer lane, so I can dial back some of that more extreme modulation that's going on. So let me turn the master to 50%. Now we dial it up a bit. Whoa! Now let's look at another potential modulation destination, and that is of course the filter frequency itself. So let's go ahead and do mod plus. We'll turn the filter frequency. We'll go over here. We'll go down to generators. We'll go across. I'm probably doing this in a really slow. There's probably some much faster way to do this. And for now, we'll just leave the modulation, the intensity modulation off. I'm just going to page back and I'm going to dial back the intensity on that filter resonance because frankly, it's way too much. We're going to set it to 50%. So now we have filter resonance being modulated and the filter cutoff being modulated. Let's hear what happens. We can modulate the intensity of the step sequencer, and we can use the Filter LFO to modulate the intensity of the per step sequences in the sequencer. So we'll do that there. So now if we just go over to the Filter LFO, right now it's on a stepped triangle and a fairly simple setup, nothing too crazy going on there. Let's hear what happens. So as you can hear, that stepping in the Filter LFO is actually now impacting quite dramatically on the actual output of the step sequencer that's been sent into the filter cutoff. We can set this to a more interesting waveform, maybe a saw up. And so by playing around with that filter LFO, we're adjusting how much of the intensity is sent from the step sequencer into the filter cutoff. Obviously, we can use the step sequencer for modulating a lot of different things. One that's pretty interesting is to use the multifilter. The multifilter allows you to modulate between two different filter types, which you can specify. Interesting parameter here is the crossfade, because that lets you fade between two different filters. So I've set filter 1 up to be a low pass filter and filter 2 up to be a band pass plus high pass filter. The crossfade amount indicates which of the two filters you're going to choose. If you're at 0%, you're on filter 1, which in this case is the low pass filter. That's it with the low pass. If I dial to 100%, that's the band pass plus high pass filter, filter 2. And if I have it at 50%, it is a mix of the two. So we'll do mod plus, press enter to modulate the current setting. We go down to generators, scroll across, we choose step sequencer lane. So the step sequencer is going to modulate the amount of crossfade between each of the two filter types on a step-by-step basis. We'll go down and set that to 100% and see what it sounds like. It can be a bit intense, so I might actually dial in an intensity modulation source here. Do the mod wheel. So the mod wheel is going to modulate the intensity of the step sequencer lane modulation. So by now you can see that the step sequencer lane plus the modulation capabilities on the Wavestate give you a huge amount of power, and I just went nuts. I set the modulation of step sequencer to go to the pan of this sound. Let's see, what else did I put in here? I modulated the filter envelope, so I modulated the attack time on the filter. If it kicks in fast, but we can actually make it go much more gently, so the filter kicks in much later. That kind of shows you what you can use this step sequencer lane for. It's just a small taste of what it's capable of. It's basically a programmable modulation source, So let's bring all of this together now in a closing jam. I've got 4 layers. Some of them have step sequencer modifying various parameters, filter cutoff most frequently, and it creates a lovely effect. So hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time.